Burkina Faso now introduced practical skills, education, and even added civic. But the Nigerian and Burkina Faso government have decided to... Welcome family, thank you for choosing the channel today. This is the best update that I've come across. Nigeria government just joined hand with Burkina Faso with a new step towards the real need of the youth in this 21st century. I know many of you heard this on the internet and all that, but you don't know how deep this whole thing is, guys. Nigeria has introduced 15 new trade subjects to basic education curriculum. When you look at the 15 trade subjects, it tells you that what is happening in Burkina Faso and how the youth are interested in that conversation, how all of us, we are interested in what is happening in Burkina Faso. I'm telling you, the leaders are paying attention to this development. They are paying attention to how the youth are responding to everything that is coming from Burkina Faso, especially in terms of their educational reformation. The key trade subject that the Nigerian government introduced is similar to that of Burkina Faso. We'll look into all these things because it is necessary to us as a continent to change many of these things. Before we get into the detail of the update, and for you not to mistake me and hate me at the end of the video, because I'm going to say certain things. So for you not to hate me at the end of the video, let me point you to the rubbish we are practicing in Africa here and the fate it has landed on us. Africa countries, we have followed this centric colonial curriculum for years, and it has resulted into only one thing: production of good English or French speaking laborers, depending on your geographical location, whether you are in the Anglophone or Francophone country. You all will agree with me that in Africa, every parent who sends their child to school, the first sign of intelligence they are looking to see in the child is how good the child is able to pick up with the colonial language, either English or French, depending on our geographical location on the continent. To those of us living in the Anglophone countries, English is become the standard of intelligence and wisdom in our kids. We are living on this continent with graduate and educated gurus with PhD, but we are crying of hunger because weeding, which is part of agriculture, is being used as punishment to our children in school, especially in Ghana. In Ghana, when you default in school, the prime punishment is weeding. So we grew up seeing or viewing agriculture as a punishment instead of means of food production. We go to school to learn, not to be educated. Education and learning are two different things. After graduation, everyone end up waiting to be employed instead of creating job to also get someone employed. Now, after spending time and spending a lot of money in school, consuming colonial language, and then we graduate without any practical skill, graduate without any technical knowledge. Now, if the employment delay, those who have sense will now be thinking of getting some practical skill to save themselves at additional cost, something which could have been easily added to their curriculum to make things easier. Meanwhile, in China, children are equipped with practical skill from kindergarten. You have been watching those videos, and the funny thing is that we in Africa, we love seeing these videos of these Chinese kids performing these practical tasks. In Africa, if you take your child to the farm, that is child abuse. If they don't call it child abuse, it will be child labor. But when the Chinese kids, we see them in their farm helping and using this practical thing, learning how to grow food. It is beautiful to us. Look at the dumb thinking. The Chinese understand that since you as a child, you know how to eat, then you should be able to know how to grow the food. If the child eating too much is not food abuse, then teaching them how to grow food in the farm is never the child abuse. If you know how to eat, then you should know how to grow the food. You should know how to produce the food. That is why the Chinese keep producing and we keep consuming. We must understand that our so-called education system contributes so much poverty in Africa. That is the fact. Chinese are able to eradicate poverty to the lowest level through education system, which focus on practical skills and adjusting it to meet modern demand as the world is changing. They keep moving along with the world. That is why they are never left behind. Education. As for us, we are changing nothing. We are still on A for apple, B for bapple. But the Nigerian and Burkina Faso government have decided to change the game by reviewing their curriculum. So the Nigerian government has added 15 trade subjects to the basic education curriculum to equip students with essential skills for the job market. This reform aims to bridge the gap between theoretical learning and hands-on expertise, ensuring that students are better prepared for local and global opportunities. This is what we need. This will make you graduate to become self-employed and sufficient and not necessarily waiting for employment in one office. According to the National Orientation Agency, the updated curriculum will take effect early 2025. It will target students in primary and junior secondary school, encouraging them to learn one or two trades alongside their core academic subject. Perfect. The 15 new trades include plumbing, tiling and floor works, event management, garment making, digital literacy, very, very important to this age, solar installation, agriculture. We must not make it look like farming is a poor man work. The first code of survival in this world is agriculture. The education minister of Nigeria described the reform as a transformative step towards aligning education with the demand of the 21st century economy. The world is changing. We must change alongside. According to his word in quote, he said, "This is a bold move to prepare our students for local and global opportunity by providing them with practical skills." Lovely people, this is wonderful. As we are speaking, preparation to support the new curriculum are underway. To train teachers to be able to match up the tasks, develop infrastructure to meet the goal, blend technology into learning process. Now, one thing we know is that African leaders, they promise and do things. Sometimes you don't see the practicality. If this will actually be initiated, it will be a significant step towards reducing unemployment. And you may not see the impact right now. That is one thing. You may not see the impact right now. But in the next 10 to 15 years, the result will be out. Majority of the youth that will benefit through this training will become self-sufficient, reducing poverty in the society and unemployment. China did it and it worked. Burkina Faso also implemented it. If I should tell you the rubbish Burkina Faso, like they were learning in Burkina Faso before the curriculum was reviewed, you open your mouth. They were taught by the colonial curriculum that their land is not fertile, so it cannot grow food. Now, after Ibrahim Traore coming into the picture and kicking these guys out, they did some agriculture experiment and discovered that it was a lie. The land can actually grow food. Burkina Faso now introduced practical skills education and even added civic education in their curriculum. This is exactly the education system that made the Chinese to be patriotic. They love their country so much because the education system installed the love of their country, patriotism in them. So in Burkina Faso, starting 2024-2025 academic year, civic education became required subject in Burkina Faso's post-primary, secondary, technical, vocational schools. And this is to teach students moral and civic value, encouraging responsibility and patriotism, and additionally adding practical skills to equip them to meet modern economic demand after graduation. In Ghana, we are not patriotic, we are partisans. This is why even if a political party comes to destroy the country, the youth will rally behind them and defend them in corruption. Even if the nation is drawn in their hands, the youth will stand and defend the politicians because they love their party more than the nation. The entire education system needs to be restructured. In Burkina Faso, civic education will be taught by qualified teachers for 2 hours each week. What Burkina Faso is doing is affecting the rest of the African nations because the leaders are seeing how the youth are responding to it. So Nigeria also have started in this angle. Regardless of what we think about Nigeria government, the fact remains the fact that this implementation is one of the best things of this government because this will go a long way to help the nation to progress one way or the other. So now these are my thoughts, but let me know your thoughts in the comment. Respect.